A world similar to our own may be rocked to its core. How characters may perceive it will be developed as you learn about the new world. Original characters are made as a form of creativity to reflect your interests and growth. So if you will, give me the time to explain to you my OCs. Welcome to the story of juveniles. And also, here are my blueprints to Nuke Seattle. The characters I had made were created in 2014. I had just moved from Texas 2 years prior and struggled with my ability to communicate. I found myself enjoying my time making characters for myself as I had struggled connecting with characters from shows. I wanted a character just for me. These characters were the first I had ever made. I spent my time enjoying the rawness of their personalities as they explained the potential of my desires and for my insecurities to be loved. As a child, these characters were me, or at least the first two, and I would love for you to meet them. But I will tell this in order of appearance and story. Have you ever felt how it was to lose all your friends you had ever known? When I had moved from Texas, I had to grasp for the first time that I could possibly never go back and see my old friends. I had moved schools before, but at least I would see my friends in other aspects of community. But moving countries was a bit different. Joel Romano was a vehicle for me to reflect on this transition and the problems that had come along with it. At the start, he had bright blue hair and always covered one eye. The main reason being that he had trouble being confident in it because of a deformity due to a stupid incident. But it might have always just been an easy vehicle to reflect insecurity. Joel is now 15 years old, 6'2", and is of Mexican descent. He had moved to Seattle with his mom and dad when he was 8. Within the year of moving, his parents had decided to split up, and the mom had decided to have him stay in Seattle while his father chose to work elsewhere. While dealing with the move and his struggle with connection was difficult, his father no longer being in the picture struck him more directly. During the divorce, Joel's mother, Christine, had chosen to have the conflict shielded from him and would pay the family of his new best friend, Vaisel, to keep him away during particularly difficult times. During these times, Joel and Vaisel decided that a rock dodgeball competition was a great way to pass the time, and then caused permanent deformities/scarring on their faces. Obviously, their parents were pissed, but these kids were idiots who were connected by the hip. With the freshly cooked up daddy issues and abandonment issues, Joel was bonded to Vaisel as if he had known her his entire life, because nothing existed before Seattle, not even his parents' happy marriage. He viewed her as a ray of sunshine in his world that slowly turned grayer. As they grew up, they had a relationship with the closeness of two siblings that had went through all their phases together. Joel was often reluctant to make the drastic and often impulsive choices, but if Vaisel was doing it, then often Joel was also doing the same thing. His mother had grown to expect changes in his appearance every time he had stayed over at her family's overnight. First with the bloody eye after the earth-bending dodgeball incident. At 10, they learned what tattoos were and then thought a pen was enough to have them. And then at 12, when Vaisel decided that bald was a good look on her, and then he decided to try and stop it. And then he bald. And then at 13, when Joel learned that teal was a pretty awesome color for hair, but then at 14, it stopped. There was nothing. It made her suspicious. What were they doing to not have any drastic changes in his appearance? They were doing kissing. They did kissing. Ugh. In school, although he had struggled to make friends on his own, he was very well acquainted with everyone due to the fact that Vaisel was much more of a social butterfly and would love to gossip. He would come to know everyone's names and something little about them. He was more invested in his studies and specifically found his calling in the sciences. Even more specific, human biology. Even better, it was his mom's dream to be a nurse, but she was unable to and went into landscaping. This will be important for later, As the kids turned 15, Joel had taken a role at his mother's plant business. He runs the store when his mom isn't doing landscaping jobs for clients' homes. Due to him being so tall, no one expected him to be a child, so he became much more responsible and better with communication. He spent less time with Faisal, but they were still best friends. She had her own job and a boyfriend now, so they were just much busier. Joel was suppressing his emotions quite a bit as well. Surprise! Joel has always had feelings for Faisal. You can all gush now, it's gonna be real cute soon. In his childhood, it had always been an innocent crush. He had never intended to act on it because it wasn't just something he can see himself doing. He was just a kid. But as they grew up, those feelings of love grew in many different ways. At times, Joel found himself seeing Faisal as a sight to ease his tenseness, a person he could trust to talk to about anything with, a person who would always find him when he was hiding from the world. Joel had never really expressed these feelings still, as he believed it would never be the right time until he became the person he would see her with. But eventually it was too late. When she got a boyfriend, he saw how well they meshed together, but also how he was everything that he would have wanted to be. Joel was upset that he wasn't good enough for her yet, but knew he had to be cordial with him as a friend to Faisal was a person he knew he had to know. At the start of our story, Joel was texting Faisal about how work for the both of them was, and had heard a huge bang and a thud in the area. He had texted Faisal that he really loved her, and then sprinted to the back room to take cover, assuming that there was a shooting. And as an eerie silence had settled onto the world, a rumbling had come charging to them, and suddenly a bright light had engulfed his consciousness. Joel had woken up 30 days later. He was hooked up to an IV, and a skylight was open to shine upon him as he was sprawled out on a hospital bed. He opened his eyes to see his friend and former senior classmate, Delilah Johnson, who was a nursing student the last time he had checked. He was confused and no longer in his casual clothes, with only the necklace that Faisal had given him on his 13th birthday and a hospital gown on. Delilah had then explained to him the situation that caused him to be put into a coma. Now a little detour into the world building. That blast that was heard on that day was not a gunshot, but a giant meteor that had been aimed towards the Golden Pig in the port of Seattle. The blue bright light was the radiation that had come from the blast. If exposed to the radiation, living creatures can be fused with bodies of matter as long as it was in contact during the time of the blast. Having said that, the radiation had settled to a reasonable level where contact with it would not change the structure of your DNA to a concerning amount, as it is theorized that the meteor parts are stored in the chest of a beast from the pier. So as the blast had finished, people were unable to mutate further. Delilah had told Joel that his mother and sister were okay, as she had been volunteering at the elementary school of his sister, and they were moved out of the radiation zone after being cleared. But as Joel was in a much more dangerous area, he was not permitted to leave as he needed to have more further research done on him. As a nursing student, she was given the opportunity to stay and act as the front lines to the disaster response and further rehabilitation, but also had promised Joel's mother to keep an eye on him. Joel then asked about Faisal as he had remembered her being near the port, but Delilah had not heard from her at all. Joel refused to settle for not knowing and pried for more answers. Delilah told him that there was a map at the entrance of the hospital so that Joel can figure out where she was at the time of the blast, and if there was anybody admitted into the zone's ward. He was given his possessions in a plastic bag and had found out that there was no signal and nor was there contact to the outside world, as it was not at all possible for anyone to do so. As we are heading into other character territory, I'll be explaining how Joel is in the story. Joel is the main character. His goal is to be the caretaker of Faisal even if she doesn't want him to be. And given these circumstances, he falls into madness, devoting himself to finding a way to reverse these horrible mutations that plague the people of this hospital. And the general downtown Seattle area, I guess. As he had worked in a plant shop, his powers are related to plants and many types of them. This despite what everyone is thinking is not good, as his weakness comes from plants. He sprouts little flowers as a response to most things and his little emotions, and as a result, he must learn how to calm down as he risks his lungs being full of petals or vines or something wrapping around his vital organs. In the end of the day, he's still human. He needs to learn how to control these abilities, or he might die a cruel death if he becomes overwhelmed or flustered at any point. He eventually uses these powers to evade authorities trying to thwart his research, and often violates a lot of protocol in order to find the solution he wants. But overall, he desires the best for everyone, specifically Vaisel, as he can see how much pain everyone is in, and he would do anything, even hurting them more, and losing his humanity in order to get his answer. Hi guys, this is post-production Navi, and I'm gonna be coming in and out just to do more commentary based off of how much audio I had left compared to the speed paint, yeah. First of all, I would like to discuss with you guys the future of how I would be portraying this story. And please excuse the sexy rasp on my voice, I am sick. It won't stay like this. Anyways, I was thinking that this story would be best told through comics or like short form or series content. It is not a short story. It has around 3 parts at the moment. I was actually thinking to myself, damn, it would probably be cool to make this into a like telltale visual novel type thing. I don't know. But I have such a big universe in this. It's just Seattle. I'm gonna be honest, I had to condense this and make it just Seattle. Not even just Seattle, downtown Seattle. That's the only place. And yeah, it's probably for the better. I don't like drawing backgrounds. I know how I am. I put this into a setting that's complicated. I should not have done that, but alas, we are here. But the story is split up into 3 parts, and essentially it's the backstory, which I explained through the beatboards, the current events, which is the big boom, and also the post events, as in when they eventually figure out what the heck is happening and how they will deal with it and eventually go on with their lives. That's if I let them live. You knew how I am. You know how I am. I've always been how I've been. And you gotta deal with it. These kids, they're probably gonna die. They just got pumped full of radiation. So like, come on, I gotta make some things realistic. Anyways, some little fun facts about Joel. He's always had a little bit of a lisp. I'm still trying to line up his voice actor right now, but I think he will have a little bit of speech therapy. I'm sorry. I don't know if my voice actors can hold up a lisp that long. His hair is supposed to resemble that of a vineyard, whatever the heck you call it. I don't know. It's supposed to be like a bush. It's supposed to be planty and all. So I was like, I'm gonna make it so difficult. Difficult to draw him all the time. And yeah, maybe I regret it a little bit, but I guess you guys just have to catch up and get good, because this is gonna be his hair in every single video I'm putting him in. Before the calamity, he lived with his mom, his stepdad, and his stepsister, who was born 8 years after him. His mom met a guy like shortly after the divorce, and they got along, and now they have a baby sister. Now, his arc is not only just trying to get his girlfriend recovered, his girlfriend quote unquote, but he's also trying to get back to his family. He's got a sister, he's got a stepdad, he's got a mom, and they kind of rely on him somewhat to, run things. Of course, his mom's in charge, but obviously they're getting older. They're gonna have some trouble soon. He wants to resume his regular life with his regular family, and he's gonna do anything in his power to get to there. Okay, I'm gonna be yapping about environment design. Joel essentially goes around the Seattle downtown area because he's escaping the hospital, and he just takes places for himself. His hospital room, boom, it's all planty and stuff. A downtown parking lot, boom, it's now forbidden to go to because he just takes over the area and plants it all up. Imagine a teenage boy with just the powers of poison ivy, and he's insufferable about it. And here's the result of the speed paint. I spent a lot of time on this. Please appreciate it. Joel really needs the positive support here. Just Joel, not me. I'm so secure. Imagine how it would be to be someone who has so many talents and expectations and then ruining it all with as much effort as humanly possible. Vaisel was a reflection on my wish to rebel. She was everything I had aspired to be. If you beat it up and punched it and kicked it to the ground before it had a time to shine. She was as pretty as a doll, as smiley as the sun, but if you were to ask her teachers and parents, she would be a problem. When I had made her, I had the intent of making her to be an idealized person who I can eventually turn into. Yes, I can ken my own OC, shut up, but also she was a reflection of what was around me and what I thought perfection was. I was going through a rebellious phase where I was drawing some pretty messed up things, and it transformed into a punk Asian girl who had piercings on every part of her face and ears. She would paint her nails black. She was loud and brash, but also was really connected to the people around her. I found her to be the opposite of me at the time, but I admired her for her braveness. Vaisel Mai-chan was a rowdy child that often was known as the funny kid. She was competitive in getting this title and would often land herself in some trouble. She was put into piano and karate when she was 5 and was pretty okay at it, nothing too stellar. And in a particular grade 3 year, she was moved to the front of the class due to talking too much, like way too much, and was introduced to this quiet little boy who had just moved states. She was the type of kid who wanted to know more about him, and eventually he became very attached to her. Their friendship was a lot closer than she had intended it to be, but he was her first ever playdate, and eventually those became sleepovers. She was only a bit aware about how bad Joel's situation was, and was talking to him about it sometimes. She started to learn how to be more gentle and empathetic, as she always had seen how tired Joel's mom was. Vaisel talked to her mom about it, and then their moms arranged an agreement that allowed them to have an easier time during such hard times. Of course, some bad things happen, such as earth-bending dodgeball battles, but that can happen, which made Vaisel's mom reconsider it, but obviously these kids needed each other as much as Joel's parents needed this help. They started growing up together, and Vaisel was known to be much more comfortable and impulsive. She started really liking the idea of rebelling as her parents started to make her think about her future, which is not good apparently. She started not feeling as safe to go around Joel's family, as she would want to skip her practices and go to places her parents didn't know. She knew it was irresponsible, but trusted that she could keep herself safe, as she knew how to fight and run. She had started hanging around a group of older kids at a skate park. She didn't know how to skate, but she was there. This was fine. She found a boy that she thought was cute, and still hung out with Joel all the time. And still did okay at school. She was bad. She was quite bad at school, actually. The issue began when she was invited to a party. She was just 14 and wanted to practice kissing so that she would be okay when it came time to make a move on that boy. She wanted to be okay at it. Joel, the absolute pushover he is, agreed to this seemingly normal sleepover request and agreed to it because it was completely normal, but also she was gonna sneak out anyways. And Joel was her cover. She then found out that the party was actually an initiation to a gang, and she actually became so enthusiastic about it for some reason. At the same party, she also got that boyfriend. But he's the type to want to take a relationship slow and do relationship things that are normal for young kids. She decided to keep the gang stuff not known to anyone but her boyfriend. Joel takes notice of this, but can't seem to get any information out of her. She does a ton of stupid and almost criminal things as a result of her newfound group. Her boyfriend, although being a part of it, was only initiated because his friends were the ones who created the gang. He actually intends on making it so that Vaisel does not get into that much trouble, but she starts going in way too deep. She's so overwhelmingly trying to do everything at once that eventually she had to fall through the cracks. When she went to a concert with her friends, during the later point of the show, the gang decided to cause a riot as their rivals were in the crowd, and in a second, her life had changed. Someone had brought a gun and shot into the crowd from her side. Chaos broke out, and instead of fighting, Vaisel was grabbed and pulled into the backstage, where there was no chaos. Her boyfriend hit her in the back and told her how he felt about this whole gang thing. He said it was stupid and not worth getting her life ruined for. He knew how much potential she had, and he was so upset that he was seeing it go down the drain, and loved her too much to allow her to be this idiotic. After this confrontation, she sat to think about what she's been doing. She was ruining her life, but then she saw a little shadow appear in the darkness as a light opened up. There was a little girl who was all alone in the room further. She was quiet and scared. So naturally, Vaisel approached her, and the couple took care of her. She found herself wanting to keep her safe and told little lies about what was happening outside. Eventually, her father came crashing in and saw two kids who carried the symbol of the gang members who were getting arrested outside. The father is the rock star performing at the concert, Remo Rouge. He was about to call the cops on them, but then Vaisel's boyfriend pleads to him. Remo looked at his daughter and decided on the spot that the only way that he didn't get them arrested was if they were to babysit his child and stop being part of the gang for the next year. They had both agreed to this arrangement, and Vaisel and her boyfriend had been working for free cents. Free child labor, let's go. Now to the start of the story. Joel and Vaisel were having their usual after-school texts, as their routine had slowly become hanging out at school and then diverging for work. They were just having a conversation about their friendship and what plans they had. They were both undecided on a career, but they knew they had different paths. She was taking care of the girl and making them drinks, and suddenly, the building began to shake, and Vaisel looked down to see Joel saying that he loved her. As she turned around to look at the kid and her boyfriend, her body slammed through the window, and her last view was looking at the building, collapsing. Suddenly, she was engulfed by a bright blue light. Soon after the blast, she woke up in a lot of pain. She was slipping in and out of consciousness. Eventually, she found herself chained to a hospital bed and being measured by a bunch of people in hazmat suits. She was obviously scared and became rowdy and wanted to escape the room. She felt her body rush with adrenaline and became feral. Her body was much bigger. She towered over most people. She saw her skin, her hands, and she was unsettled as she noticed they had become a different shape and color. She noticed that there were parts of her that weren't there before. Blinded by rage and confusion, a rational explanation was impossible to convey to her. They had to sedate her. Vaisel was transformed into something she would never have imagined. For 30 days, she continued to be made to go in and out of consciousness. When she was awake, she couldn't be spoken to without her going into a rampage. She would often sit in silence and isolation. Sedation was the only way that they could manage her health, but truly, she didn't exactly care for that. She hadn't known what happened outside of this room. It had been made to be bolted shut with steel, and she had made a name for herself as the most non-compliant in the hospital. One day, she had tried to break out of the room and had made it to the steel door and slammed a person into the door. Instead of killing them, she had beat into the door so that she could escape, and finally made it to the outside of the room to finally see a familiar face for the first time in a month. Joel stood at the other side. He was signing papers in order to see her. They were consent forms to make sure that the government wasn't liable for his death. He saw Vaisel for the first time, and everyone saw that he could actually be cordial with her. Joel and Vaisel could finally talk for the first time in a while. But to Vaisel, it had been 30 days. But for Joel, it had only been 1. Joel studied the change on her body and noted that 2 spinal cords were peering from her shoulders, with circular wounds. She finally felt relief. They had discussed what happened during the time of the blast, where they were, what they mixed with, and who else was there. This is where they theorized that Vaisel had mixed with 3 other things, as she was in the sky and only had contact with some items, allowing them to realize that she had the bodies of the child that they were babysitting and her boyfriend, and a little bit of a lizard mixed up with him. Rest in peace, Ralph. Rest in peace, Ralph. She believes that her boyfriend is alive because it seems as if the fatalities weren't as high as most people had anticipated. All people in the blast were merged into other masses, then giving the capabilities of amalgamations to live. The functioning amalgamations actually correlate to the fatalities in the area. Amalgamations that were functioning had many live people. However, ones that were not are estimated to have many fatalities, as amalgamations must use the life forces of people inside of it in order to function. But it seems as if the most fatalities that have occurred happen in Zone 3, which Joel was in. In this story, Vaisel must come to terms with her transformation, and her relationship with her boyfriend very complicated. It actually becomes much more complicated as she actually absorbed the body of her boyfriends and the kids. They are most likely unable to move, while she has a very functioning body now. How would she treat that relationship? She's too young to know how. Vaisel must navigate her growth, but also accept that she is a lizard now, but also a body thief. Along with her being extremely sought out as a partner, her boyfriend, the man who loved her before all the trauma of this event, or Joel, the boy who loved her despite it all. Post-production Navi is back. Welcome. Does she look like a self-insert? Yeah, screw you, except she's not. I can have purple characters and not be me, I swear to God. Like, I gotta nail it into your head. She is what I want to be, not my self-insert. She was what I want to be. I don't want to be a criminal, nor do I want to be a lizard. I don't like lizards. Sorry, I don't like lizards that much. In fact, I have to, refrain from looking up reference images of lizards because I get freaked out by them, sorry. I'm about to get real close and personal here. She was inspired entirely by my eczema journey. There was some point where I was perfectly fine, perfectly normal, blah, 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 and then suddenly I looked like a lizard a lizard monster, because my skin was peeling off, as it does every month, apparently, for women. I didn't know that was a regular thing, you know? I guess you can say that they're both self-inserts, her and Joel. Joel was a reflection of my introverted side, how I didn't want to really talk to people, how I clung to those I know who were safe, how I was insecure about a lot of things, specifically the parts that I didn't want to show on Joel, and I was like, maybe when I highlight the insecurities of this character, I will see that these are just little quirks that I need to go past. And it did work. I found myself enjoying his character aspects that I would often find unconventional. He'd have a tooth gap, he'd have a little bit of a lisp when he spoke. Everything that he had on him that wouldn't be considered traditional or normal was something I had a little bit of. As for Vaisel, I wanted to be a lot like her back then, before the lizard incident, but I found her to be more interesting with the lizard incident. Sorry, she would have been a cute girl, but no, I turned her into a lizard. Screw you. Not actually screw you. She's complicated. She's there. She's a lizard. It's Vaisel. And as I can't find her a voice actor right now, she is going to have a little bit of facts time. I'm going to give you facts. She was 5'6", but now she's just 6 foot because, lizard and extra bones. She did get kicked out of that dojo, for crime. And she can't sing whatsoever. Oh my god, guys, it's finally time for not the main characters. Anyways, this is Delilah. Everyone say hi to Delilah. She's 19 years old and she is in nursing school. And I'm gonna be so so very vulnerable with you. She is based off my childhood friend who I never saw again. Hey Pookie, it's been 15 years if you're watching this. Anyways, basic background, we're not doing any beatboards because she's just a secondary character. Main characters get the beatboards. Anyways, as I said before, she volunteered to be an emergency nurse because she was already in the blast. Is she at all qualified? No, she has not done much. She's maybe stuck a needle in someone once. That's fine. That's fine. No one needs more radiation. She already got radiation in her. Why not go become a nurse in the blast zone? Anyways, she's essentially gonna be the parental figure, the guardian of Joel and Vaisel for the time being, because guess what? Their parents aren't there. Hooray! Not hooray. They often have to sneak under her nose every single time they want to do something that is not part of protocol. But she is very protective over them, and she gives them loving, and she gives them help. She is a sweetheart. She's not at all assertive at all. So she does get pushed around a little bit by the actual doctors and actual nurses who are there and having to deal with the actual situation. But, conveniently, she is one of the few people that very much get along with Vaisel. Vaisel still hates all the other doctors and nurses, but you know what? Maybe I'll listen to her. My homie, Delilah. Vaisel, please do not scratch the nurses. Yes, ma'am. Vaisel, it's not good to throw a man into a wall. Yes, ma'am. I kind of want her to have this strong, like a really strong Seattle accent. And I don't know how to explain what a Seattle accent is to you, but I don't want to imitate it. It's so funny. And I'm sorry, guys, but she is the example of what is going to happen to people after long exposure to the radiation. I don't know what's going to happen with her. She's likely not going to die. I'm going to say this at least for you guys. She won't. I'm making sure of that. Cross my heart, hope to die. Dude, I swear, I need to put this as a note to myself. Do not kill Delilah. Okay, so this is the last character we're going to be introducing. This is Vaisel's brother, Davis. He's a biker, he's a tattoo artist, he is a rebel. He's the reason why Vaisel has more than 6 piercings at 15. And he's the black sheep of the family, which does not help because he has a sister which is a lizard. Yeah, he's trouble. But he's trouble for good. He's trouble for us. How we meet him is gonna be very, very, like, almost a mystery, even. What I imagine is that one episode, there's just, like, this whisper around the hospital that there's a masked man or a guy in a helmet just zipping around the city, and everyone's like, yeah, he's likely from the outside of the barrier. And Joel is like listening in on this because, you know, he likes listening in, he likes getting the information that he's not supposed to know. He's actually not supposed to leave the hospital, but guess what? He constantly does, all the time. So he actively looks for this person, and he's like, damn, how can I find him? And then he traps him in an underground garage, which is conveniently plant-themed, the garage he took over. And eventually he finds out, damn, this is Vaisel's brother. I know him. Essentially, when he was cornered, he realized, oh damn, that's Joel. He knows Vaisel. He's the bestie. And then he explained what happened. Essentially, Vaisel's parents have a chip in her neck because, you know, child. And they realized Vaisel wasn't dead because, boom, she had a chip in her neck and she was constantly moving around in the bomb area. Yeah, Davis has been coming in and out of the area for the past month, only getting caught in the last week. His goal being to get his sister out of the barrier and having her treated at home. Overall, Davis is the only way they can communicate to the outside, and he gives Joel a camera to document whatever is happening inside. Chat, do I make them kiss? Do I make them kiss? This is something for you to decide. I might fully ignore you and make them kiss if you say no, but it's just, I want input. Whoa, what was that? What just came out of me? Was that 12-year-old lore? Yeah, no, I'm so sorry. I am so sorry. This is way long overdue. But you know, I get sleepy. I get tired. I'm just a little guy who wants to take a little nap. But yeah, if you've stayed this long, thank you. I'm really happy that you're here. I would like to give you a solid pat on the back. I'm so proud of you, son. I really hope you enjoyed the video, and I do want some input, mainly because I do have other characters left. I have so many other characters left. Mainly Vicel's boyfriend, Joel's entire family, Vicel's boss, the government, and also the aliens that are trying to take the life forces of all human beings and matter on the planet. Like, give me another 3 months to make that, because I got other things to do, like the D&D series, my final film, my final comic, school. But that will not stop me from being a cloud chaser. And if you can, please give this a bit of a like, a subscribe maybe, but mainly watch hours. If you can, share this with your friends. I'm trying to get monetized here. Food is not going to be putting itself on the table. If I have to draw a more sexy men character, I will do it for money, But I think my brain will explode. But I think it will explode. I need help. If this video gets to 5,000 views, not 100,000, I will start this as a little bit of a webcomic. I don't know. Whatever time I have, I can do. Yay! Anyways, I'm gonna wait until it reaches the end of the end point where I'm going to put stuff down. Also, art fight's happening. I'm gonna beat the crap out of you. If I find you. Run. Fossil ain't got nothing on me. Anyways, bye!